Hello YouTube fans, bit in the dark today, but I think I'll do this film, do this one. Just to Kill, that's right, Just to Kill, I meant to say, by Francis De Palma, that's right, Just to Kill. Now what can I say about this one? What can I say about it? It's a dud it's a dud starring Michael Caine and Nancy Iron. No, beautiful blonde from Robotop and from Cara, she's in this. And I like her in this because she plays a prostitute. That's right, she plays a prostitute. So she kind of plays a slutty role in the film. She plays a slutty role in it. Now, it starts off with this woman, and you see a shower scene, and you see this sort of scene where she sees someone jabs her down there. So they've really put it in detail, tags her down there, and it turns out to be a nightmare. So it's a bit of hanky panky as well. Now I do know there was two edited versions of Test to Kill. Just like a lot of other films, there was two edited versions. There was the censored one and there was the uncut one. The one I've got is the uncut one. It definitely has a lot more meat to the bone, a lot more sets of violence, and a lot more debut. And it definitely is. This is the one where I would say Francis Palmer used a lot of Alfred Hitchcock touches to it. I say it again, use a lot of Alfred Hitchcock touches. The bit with it there, a woman misses her juffs and she's looking for her juffs and it shows them at the other hand. It shows somebody taking them. And when you think about it, it's a murder mystery film. It is, it's a murder mystery film. But it's definitely disturbing. It is definitely disturbing. Because it's to do with a woman who you get ideas she's sexually active, she's a single mum, she's got a son. You might remember he played in Doors 2. And she's a psychiatrist played by my mate, Michael Caine. Michael Caine's in it. So she's having a way with this guy anyway. Funny enough, he thinks that he's following her about and everything. Next thing you know, they're doing it in a taxi. Of all the places to do it in, they do it in a bloody taxi. Oh well, talk about Anky Panker. So then after that, they're doing it again in a motel. We don't see that much, but you got the idea they're doing it. Then she goes to the lift, and that's when she gets brutally murdered. Now, on the censored one, you don't see it as graphic, but on the uncut one, it's definitely vicious. She gets a slit throat slaver, she gets a face cut here, cut there, cut there. A bit of the effect, you can see it's a bit of effect. She gets cut on the neck, you can see where the makeup is, where it's going to get cut. And she literally gets cut to pieces. It's definitely a vicious, definitely a graphic scene. But then after that, it's not really that bloody. It's not really that violent after that. But it does have a story too. It's not just an excuse for blood and gore. Nancy Iron, as the prostitute, goes to the lift and finds the body of the poor woman, and she sort of sees the perfection of the killer. Right? Now, if no one's ever seen Just to Kill from 1980, spoilers. I'm going to spoil it. So if you've not seen it, and I go to the 5 number like sometimes I do, find it on DVD, find some way to watch it, then watch it, and then come back to this review because I don't want to spoil it because it's a dud. It's a dud. It's more of a murder mystery at that point. Once you get the disturbing death scene, I've got to admit the murder is a lot more graphic on the uncut one. Nancy Iron sees a copper who, funny enough, has been in a few films. I'm funny in this. He does make me laugh because he says to her, he says, "Cut the shit. You're a prostitute, aren't you?" He says a scene before, says, "So was you banging him?" And says, "I beg your pardon." No, that'd be pause. Says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Am I a bit chewed for you?" "Cut the shit. You were a prostitute." Says, "No, who are you fucking?" And she says, "I am fuck you." And he says, "Right, you're a suspect. Don't bow down." And it just made me laugh back. He says, saying, "Don't tip down." He says, "Don't bow down." So it just made me laugh. She meets the lad anyway, the one who the poor mother was brutally murdered. And like I say, that's when it becomes a murder mystery. It becomes a murder mystery. And again, they do have a lot of Jolfies of Alfred Hitchcock. I love the way in most films, and it was always done in Alfred Hitchcock films, the famous duet where you've got one film there, right? It's hard to explain as I saw the film. Again, copyright. You get a cutaway of the film here, right? Let's say I've got a razor here, right? And I'm picking this razor up, right? Got this here, it's a bit dark like I am today. So I'm picking this razor up, right, from here. And then from here, you get something in the background happening. So your mind's on that, and your mind's on that. It kind of reminds me of the first Jaws film. You remember the first Jaws? with Roy Sider. You've got one guy dabbing away at Roy Sider, and you don't really know what he's saying, but he's rapping on. And then you've got another scene there, and Roy Sider's looking at that more than the flipping tie piling on. That reminds me of that and how it's done, and it's done like that a lot. I love the way it's shot. It's beautifully shot film. It's a beautifully shot film. But anyway, at the time, you've got ideas that Michael Caine could be in on this. So Nancy Iron says he's up pretty slutty and ties it on with our mate Michael Caine as a psychiatrist. I've got Alfred stuck on my brain now, but she ties it on with him, and I love the way she says she barely wears anything, and she's talking dirty. I'm not going to say what she talks, but she talks pretty and utter dirty, saying, "You want to fuck me, don't you?" That's what I'm going to say on that matter, on a lot of other dirty words. Michael Caine is trying to be a professional. Don't forget, he's a psychiatrist, right? And she's talking dirty, and then she says, "Right, stop messing around. We all know you want to give me one." So instead of all fucking around, giving each other the ultimate mind fuck, I'm going to get in another room, and so on. But I'm going to say the rest because she talks pretty dirty. But I love the way that they both try and manipulate the way they do it, try and manipulate one another. She's talking as a prostitute, so cool and utterly filthy. Michael Caine's trying to be a professional and talk like a psychiatrist. So I just love the way the back and forth in the performance. And I've got to admit, Nancy Iron, we all know in Robotop, and it's been a lot of films. I've got to admit, she looks pretty sexy actually, that scene. That scene, even I got a bit excited as a young man watching Nancy Iron dressed up a bit slutty. I do admit, I got a bit turned on myself. But yeah, it's not a bad film. It's not a bad one. Now I'm going to say the spoilers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've been warned. You want to know who the murderer is? It was our mate Michael Caine. Yeah, the psychiatrist. He dressed this up as a woman, and he was the one that did the horrible murder, who killed the poor woman in the lift, and he was going to attack Nancy Iron. But lucky enough, some coppers come in, saved the day, and got him on the act. They got him on the act, and you think it's going to be a happy ending, and he's in a mental asylum, because, you know, he's a psychopath. Long behold, he gets a nurse. I've got an idea he kills. I think he strangles her, if I remember rightly. It's all him stripping her off naked. It's a bit sexy as a nurse. The new nurses dress like that underneath. But it's not all about that. He's going to, he's going to dress up as a nurse, and you've got the idea he's going to escape. You've got a nice scene when Nancy Iron's going to have a shower. Again, a bit of nudity. There's a lot of nudity in this film. And it's one of them, you think the killer's in the room, she's in the shower. Again, you can still see the idea of carrying this, because she's about to go a toss, because she sees the shoes of the killer. You've probably got the shoes what the nurse had, right? So you think the killer is near the door. So your mind is on that door thinking Michael Caine's going to jump out in a minute with a razor. Somehow that lad's going to come and save the day, knock the killer out, or kill him, end the fucking film, right? You know, like you normally see in films. So your mind's on that door, innit? It's on that door. Long behold, you don't expect this. A fucking slit throat slave will come out of nowhere, slicks Nancy Iron's throat. I admit, when I first saw it, I jumped out of my bloody skin, because I didn't expect that. And but it turned out to be a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So Nancy Iron didn't have a throat slit. She had a nightmare. That reminds me of Carrie. You know, the famous scene where the hand comes out and gets stood by her hand. So that's all. He kind of copied that from Carrie, my mate Frances Palmer. But nevertheless, it ends there as well. You know, after the nightmare, it ends. You get a bit of music at the end, and it's end of film. And it leaves you thinking, is he on his way to kill her, or is he just on the run? But I don't like it. It's a bit like Psycho. You got Michael Caine dressed up as a woman. It's definitely a different role for Michael Caine. I never knew for a minute he was going to be the Psycho. You know what I mean? I never knew that. It's psychological, it's more suspenseful. Yeah, the lift scene where the woman gets killed is brutal. It's pretty violent, but again, it's definitely shot. It's definitely blood shot. So for that, it's definitely a classic. It gets for me a 10-star rating. Test to Kill from 1980 is a dud, and you've never seen it, try it out. If you like Alfred Hitchcock films, The Master of Suspense, it definitely has that Alfred Hitchcock feel to it. And it's like I said, Frances Palmer always used that. There are bits what reminds me of Body Double. It was also done by Frances Palmer. That's also another dud one, by the way. And One Day on the Road, I might talk about that one by Frances Palmer. Body Double. That reminds me of that in the way the story was shot. But again, It's a good film. Again, there was two versions. There was the censored one. There was the uncut one. Always go for the uncut one because it's definitely a lot more graphic, a lot more firing, a lot more sexual scenes, and it definitely doesn't fuck around in being what it is. But if you go and think it's going to be a bloodbath film and you're into that, you're going to be disappointed because after you get that gruesome murder scene, the rest of it is more of a psychological and expense film. And I go for that. I mean, I love some of the Alfred Hitchcock films and I love some of the expense films. So if you're into that sort of film, you're definitely going to like it. Because it doesn't just have that Joe face of Alfred Hitchcock by my mate, Fanny Sapamo. Into then, I'll talk about more movies, more politics, and more things on the way. If you like what you hear, type me up, give me a nice thing what you might want me to talk about, or subscribe to me. Into then, I'll see you soon.